Real quick, the purpose of the meeting, before I hand it off to Mike, is to reintroduce the project to the public. Hopefully most of you are aware this went through a relatively long planning process. And so this is moving the project out of planning and into design. We'll be presenting the proposed improvements coming out of that planning phase. And we'll also be talking about the traffic control and pedestrian accommodations. We'll also share the current schedule, and most importantly, gather your feedback on those proposed designs. I think with that, I'm going to hand it off to Mike.
Thanks, Jan. So hopefully a good amount of you were a part of the planning process and are somewhat familiar with what we're doing here, but as a quick overview / reminder, this project goes from along East Ohio Street between Union Place and East Street. The planning phase, I believe, went all the way to Chestnut Street, but the portion we're implementing with this project is just about half of it. We are focusing on safety for all modes, but emphasizing pedestrian safety and accessibility improvements, particularly at the transit stops. And we are going to incorporate streetscape improvements consistent with the existing character of the street and what kind of makes sense as we further the design. Just a quick, I'm not going to go through everything here, but I believe it is posted on the Engage page for this project. But there was a study phase. Panini from our planning group is here. He was the leader of that phase. The entire corridor was studied, and the improvements that we have that I'll present here and we have plotted out in the back room are directly taken from that study, refined to a give or take 30% level, and that's what we're presenting here. Just a quick overview of some of the project elements that you'll see when we look at the plans later. We are including a raised crosswalk. It's essentially just a wider speed hump that is set at a crosswalk location to enhance visibility of pedestrians and to serve as a traffic calming measure. At James Street, we're looking at installing a raised intersection, so the entire intersection would be at sidewalk grade, so coming at it from any direction, any vehicles would need to mount up to sidewalk grade. It's a similar vertical deflection that is intended for traffic calming and to increase pedestrian visibility. At most of the intersections, we are including curb extensions, also known as bump outs. They are there to slow traffic turning speeds by tightening the radius that they have to go, as well as shortening the pedestrian crossing and improving visibility at the intersections. And then we'll also see pedestrian refuge islands, which are raised concrete medians at longer pedestrian crossings that allow the pedestrians, rather than going along crossing the whole way, they'll have two short crossings with a refuge island in between. Oh, sorry. So I'm just going to go block by block. So this is the first block right around the corner from where we're at right now. We are looking to build bus boarding platforms at some of the higher ridership bus stops at the Cedar and East Ohio Street intersection. We're also looking to do some safety improvements for some of the bike turns with some raised concrete medians. And we have shortened the crossings for the pedestrians with those bump outs as part of the pedestrian safety aspects. Okay. Going down to the next intersection, excuse me. We are doing full bump outs for all the legs of the intersection, and here at James Street is where we are proposing a raised intersection, a tabletop, where the entire intersection is at sidewalk grade. So the sidewalk space is pushed out, but in addition, the vehicles are raised up to sidewalk grade, so they have that vertical deflection to slow them down. We are also looking at coordinating with Port Authority to consolidate the bus stops between Middle and James to just James. In the upper right-hand corner, We have an extended curb bump out to allow for better loading for that stop. And throughout the entire corridor, we're focusing on the intersections for this presentation, but throughout the entire corridor, we are looking to do essentially a new curb and to reconstruct that like 3-foot brick area, which is sometimes in poor condition. We want to do it in probably a stamped concrete look, maybe keep the brick, but we wanted to have like kind of a clean slate. We don't have the funds to do like all the sidewalk in the corridor, but we wanted to at least have something clean that, you know, should the property owners want to redo the sidewalk through there, they would have something to butt right up against. So you'll see that throughout the project. Going down to Middle, this is the one that recently we made one-way northbound from the southern leg. This one on the eastern, the right side of the page, crossing, we are looking to do a raised pedestrian crossing for that leg. We're doing curb extensions on all of the approaches. And for all of these, we're doing new pedestrian markings, high visibility crosswalks, the bump outs for the pedestrian crossings. Coming down to East Street, we are doing some pretty significant curb extensions to try and slim down the very wide blacktop through there to try to reduce speeds at that intersection. We are also looking to put a median halfway through to give the pedestrians a refuge when crossing there. And there's also increased space at the bus loading platform for Port Authority riders. Right now for like traffic control, this is very high level how we assume we're gonna phase out and construct it. We're thinking we'll start with the median construction. So that's just a couple of small islands within the roadway. And then we were assuming we would go one block at a time, doing the north side, all the improvements along the curb line and the bump outs, go along the south side, one block at a time, and then we're looking to mill and pave the entire section of East Ohio Street. At this point, we anticipate the work can be done with flaggers and we wouldn't have to do like full closures or detours, but we will develop that further as we go through the design. Quick next steps. We are looking to complete the design sometime early next year. Then we would go through our procurement process, which takes a couple months, and then we're hoping to construct it starting sometime in early 2027, hopefully. We have a pretty aggressive design schedule. Amanda knows that, but we're pushing it. We are looking to have another public meeting at pre-construction where we'll talk through what to expect during construction, what will be the MPT, the traffic control, we'll finalize the flagger situation and the phasing. And as designs kind of get completed, approved by PennDOT, we'll upload to the Engage Pittsburgh page, which I believe we have a link to at the end of this. Okay. That's it. Pass it back to you, Jan.
Yep. So if you signed in, this is my reminder to sign in. If you pre-registered, great. If not, you can use the QR code or sign your name. We'll be following up after this with links to the Engage page, which really is the best way to follow this meeting. We'll also, I know that there's a number of folks in the room, but some folks obviously weren't able to attend, and so we'll be collecting feedback via the Engage PGH page as well. So if you know somebody who has thoughts about this, don't think that they missed out on providing comment. We've got comment boxes on the Engage PGH page. My contact information's up here. I'm happy to take feedback as well and make sure it gets to the project team. With that, I think we will move into some Q&A before we get to the roll plots in the back of the room. Usually just go as people raise their hands, so if there's any questions, I'll come around with the mic I'm looking at my City Channel team. Do I need to bring this with me to folks? You guys are good?
No, if you can stay there, if someone else who can pass around the mic.
Yep. Mike, do you mind passing around the mic? There's a question right here.
Has any funding been secured for this yet?
I'm actually going to switch roles with Mike so you can answer questions better than I can.
Yes, yeah, we have federal funds for this project. Is the right
you're
one?
good.
Okay, federal funds for this project for construction. That's why we're in partnership with PennDOT. The funds are coming from federal highways, and we have PennDOT oversight for this one. So yes, yeah, we do.
Question over here.
For the crosswalks specifically on East O, I know they're raised and we're changing those additionally, but are we also going to get, like, other neighborhoods have the buttons that you can push that it then like lights up to tell a car that's approaching that there's a pedestrian that's about to cross, to extra flag that they should be slowing down and stopping for you?
An RFP. We haven't looked at that. Panini, was that a part of the study phase? We'll mark it down and we'll take a look and see what our traffic people say. Yeah.
If anybody, just for clarity, those are the rapid rectangular flashing beacons. Yes.
On the Engage page, on the plan, I believe there were some listed like pedestrian or bike LED lights. Is that still within the scope of the plan?
Pedestrian interval.
Yeah, leading pedestrian interval, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to relook at all the signal timings, and leading pedestrians will be a part of that. I don't think there was anything for bike signals that was looked at as part of this project. No, but leading pedestrian interval where the pedestrian gets a little bit of extra time before the traffic light, the vehicular traffic green bulb goes on. Yes.
Thanks. I had a couple questions about the Sharrows. So I know NACTO, which is the North American Cities and Transit
City transportation officials.
Something like that. Anyways, they have like design standards for bike boulevards or Sharrows, which is what's in the design. I'm curious about, this road seems like it has a lot of traffic. Does it meet the suggested thresholds for vehicle volume and speed? If it doesn't, is there anything that you're trying to do to help it meet that threshold? If not, like, is there a better alternative that could be considered to the Sharrows?
Okay. Yeah, I think in terms of traffic calming, the raised features will at least slow the traffic, but I'm not sure what was investigated as part of the planning exercise, but it is a pretty constrained corridor, so I think what we're trying to do is to make the corridor as safe as we can for everybody, calm traffic as much as we possibly can, and trying to make those accommodations. I'm not sure if you were thinking like specifically like bike lanes or anything like that.
I guess like if it doesn't meet the thresholds for the recommendation, for the design guidelines to use that feature as a bike infrastructure, then it's not a good solution. So an alternative either on a different road or on this road should be considered instead.
Oh, to mark the bike route.
I mean, no, not to mark it, but like if it, like for example, NACTO has these thresholds that says, hold on just a second. Bike boulevards are a meaningful addition to a bike network where total vehicle volume is at or below 3,000 cars per day and the 90th percentile speed is at or below 25 miles per hour. So if this isn't the case for this corridor, then this isn't a good solution.
You are absolutely correct. So what happened for this project, based on the volume, if you see the NACTO guideline, it does follow the threshold of a bike facility. So what happened here is the game of compromise. You have a very constrained space, and it's a very business district that is very alive. And when we went through the process, it was one of the idea. If you remember in the first phase when we started the engagement, there were a couple of alternatives. One of the idea was to have a dedicated bike facility, but it will come at the expense of you have to take out all the parking of the corridor, not even loading space.
So your answer to the question is it does meet those thresholds?
It does meet the threshold, yes. It does meet the threshold, but unfortunately, because of the space constraint, we have to come up with a middle ground where we can create some curb space while at the same time reduce the speed of the corridor so that it can make overall safety improvement for everyone. So that's why you are seeing all the improvement that we just presented here, where we are hitting a middle ground where we're reducing the speed that will reduce the kinetic energy that will transfer for any of the crashes, so it will reduce the overall severity of the corridor. And one additional thing to add, very fortunate thing is in this corridor, at least in the last 5 to 7 years, fortunately we don't have any reported bicycle crash in there. So something is working there. With all the safety improvement that we're putting in, hopefully it will improve it furthermore. Thank you.
And Panini, before you pass the mic, do you just want to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself? Thank you. You started answering.
I'm that infamous Panini Chaudhry that he just mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. I work in the planning phase. I see a lot of familiar faces here that I worked the last year and so. It was really great to be back. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Hello, John Burkle from Pasek MTR. We're at 619 East Ohio Street. I sent an email to Panini before this meeting, but just wanted to go on record in saying that something has to be done at the East Ohio and East Street intersection to improve safety for everybody, more than just bump outs and the crosswalk there. And I'm suggesting perhaps a raised crosswalk. I've provided an email that has links to videos of 4 pretty serious crashes that have happened at that intersection, and they're all primarily due to folks coming across Middle Street, heading east, seeing the lights turning yellow, gunning it, going through the intersection, and there's been a number of T-bone crashes at that intersection, and it happens in both directions, both east and westbound there. So I would ask that you reevaluate that to see if that can be addressed.
Thanks. I don't think there was a specific question you want to answer to, but we'll make sure it gets marked down, and if you want to leave comment on the plots as well, that'd be great. I think we'll take a couple more questions, and then I want to get people in the back. I see a question here.
Is there a time span that you have from when those projects happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was since August.
Since August this year?
This past year. Yes, I have video for, there's a 5th one. I'm sure you requested video for that, unfortunately. It's already
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah, so the bike lane on East Ohio, especially heading west there at Middle and East Ohio, takes this very awkward transition where it just kind of dead ends and thrusts you as a rider into traffic. Is that on the list of things to be fixed? Or sorry, not at Middle, at East and East Ohio. If you look at, yeah, there. It like basically, if you go look at the traffic markings over the freeway, there is a bike lane across the bridge, and then it kind of directs you across the intersection, through the intersection, and then just directs you directly into the traffic stream.
Didn't we look at doing?
I know that this came up in the planning phase. So for this phase, we're just looking at East to Union, but I know that there was some redesign suggestions in the planning phase. Maybe Panini, you can share more.
Is this the intersection you're referencing where you are coming from that direction to East Ohio?
Yeah, or even from on East Ohio. Yeah, that turn there.
That transition, right?
Yeah, it's very awkward because
Yes.
it actually just throws you right into traffic.
So that's where we're thinking about separation by time, like creating lead pedestrian interval. Still in the design phase, we're trying to figure out how much time we can do. What we will try to do is provide maximum time possible where before the vehicle get green, the pedestrian will get a group, like their ped face on, and also there will be sign that bicycle can use the ped face. So you will get a 3 to 5 second extension where you can already get in the road when March, and then the vehicle will get a green. Yes.
It's a problem all the way through there. I know you're not doing the other side, but it's a problem on the other side. Yeah, so it's a problem on the other side of the freeway as well, because it basically, the bike lane is to the right of the turn lane, and people don't look before they go. And even though you have, since it allows right turn on red there, during that signal phase, like I've been almost hit there multiple times.
Yes, we did hear a lot during the planning phase for that one, and that's why that countermeasure we are considering, so that it can create that separation by time at least.
And I do want to add the caveat that I've watched that Pittsburgh police will cite cyclists if they get in a collision, if they're not in the bike lane, and it puts people in a really awkward situation there. There's nothing necessarily illegal about not riding in the bike lane, obviously, but like you're kind of in this weird situation all through that corridor where it's like no matter what you do, it's kind of wrong.
Thank you for the comment.
I think I already said we'll take one or two more questions, but these will be the last two, one here and one here.
I just had a real quick follow-up. Will you also consider adding that sign that bikes may use the pedestrian phase at the Cedar Avenue intersection as well? For when?
Yeah, we can look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because there's that awkward merge back into traffic.
We can look into it.
Yeah.
From bike lane.
Yeah, if you're heading, yep, good call.
Can you speak to the difference between a raised crosswalk and a raised intersection, and why a raised intersection is planned for James, but just a raised crosswalk at Middle?
Sure. The raised intersection is the entire intersection area, right? So yeah, if you're looking at the red area in this picture would essentially all be raised above the general roadway. For the raised crosswalk, it would be just one of the legs. I imagine that the reason that it was done at Middle is because of the offset in the intersection, and that the raised area just probably didn't make sense, and we still wanted to get some level of traffic calming during the planning phase.
Versus this intersection, like.
Correct.
Yeah.
This one would be only one leg would be raised.
It's like the shape is offset, so it's difficult to be that whole intersection raised here.
I guess the reason I'm asking the question is because my experience as a pedestrian is that the Middle Street intersection is more challenging to navigate than the James Street intersection. And so I want to be sure we're doing everything we can possibly do at that particular intersection to improve pedestrian safety.
Very fair. Yeah, and the amount that we are crossing or reducing the crossing distance is pretty significant, and the additional sidewalk space will increase visibility for pedestrians. I'll say I live in the north side as well, and I have had issues at both of those intersections too, but I agree. I think Middle is worse. And just with people paying attention, and I think with the additional the pavement markings and everything saying like stop here and all that, that's what we're going for.